What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the G Show podcast. I am G1, and this is our Joker movie review, and I am joined by the co-creator of this channel, my good buddies. I swear to God, we don't get up enough. We do not. Everything has been the Godzilla block party for the past year, I would say, since King of the Monsters came out. We don't do enough of these, whether it be a geek out or a movie review. And I'm talking to none other than my brother from another mother, Matt G95. What's up?
Hey, it's good to be back.
It's good to have you.
Much too kind.
Yeah, much too kind. It's good to have you back, bro. I miss our conversations, whether we're agreeing that certain things are awesome and then disagreeing that, our views on anything that Hidekiano does. So, but no, all in all, bro, I'm glad to have you back, especially for this one, because we're talking about the Joker. And it's not going to be, this ain't going to be an hour-long review. We're going to get our reactions, a couple of things that might have shocked and surprised us, and just our overall thoughts of this movie. And it's funny, I'll preface this, because when we started this channel, when we did our first video, it was on the DC cinematic universe. And this movie has zero to do with any of that. And I love it. I love the direction they went with this. I love the idea that it doesn't fit in with anything we've seen before, and rightfully so. This movie is I cannot, I mean, you say anything you want. There's something to this movie that I can't find the right word or words to describe it, because everything else is just, the usual. But dude, like, we knew this movie was coming out for a bit, and it's kind of crazy because they didn't beat us over the head with marketing. It's funny, we were just talking about that. But they didn't really beat us over the head with the marketing or anything like that. It's just like, here's the first trailer. We waited about 4 months. Here's a second trailer, and that's the final trailer. This movie's going to be rated R, and it's not a superhero movie. Don't expect to see Batman. And the movie came out. Man, what was your reaction? Like, first off, how hyped were you for this movie going in?
Well, I didn't watch any of the trailers. I didn't see a single trailer. So my hype level was dependent on my mood at the time, because I had no idea of how it was going to be. Sometimes I was excited for it, and sometimes I was really, really hyped for it, and other times I was kind of just like, I'll see it when I see it. But within the last 2 weeks, I've been very excited to see it, just because I've been hearing all the things and, hearing all the buzz and all the controversy and all that shit. And, the day of or the day before, I couldn't wait. And, my God, was it worth the wait. And I'm very glad I went into this with no preconceived notions or ideas of what I was going to be seeing. I watched a couple other reviews on it from YouTube. I turned off the spoiler points because I didn't want to, have anything ruined for me. And, it was, going into this completely blind was just the way to go.
I'm still shocked. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the movie, the experience of the movie was so much more powerful, I think, than it would have been had I watched a bunch of trailers or been keeping up with all the news and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm still shocked that you're staying away from trailers, especially something like The Joker, which, completely different from anything. So you didn't watch the trailers, but you knew what The Joker looked like. Like, you've had to have seen posters and images. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, good. Yeah, because I think you might have even shared some memes.
There's no completely escaping it.
Right. Okay, so cool. All right. Yeah, so you went in completely blind to it, not knowing what this movie was going to be. Let me ask you a question. Was there a police presence at your theater?
Not at all.
Not at all either. Zero at mine. I caught a matinee show yesterday. I enjoyed the shit. Dude, the Joker is my number one favorite villain of all time. I've never not said that. It's the Joker and then probably Darth Vader, right? In comic books, he's my number one of all time, then Batman. It's something about the Joker that, and this movie was completely different, but I'm going to get into something that got me in this movie that I just sat back And I'm not gonna lie when I say it, man. I had tears welled up in my eyes, like legit. And I'm not talking about tears of joy or happiness, just tears of understanding. It was very weird and awkward, yet it hit me in such a fuck way. I'm gonna get to that point later. By the way, we're not gonna do, there's no spoilers in this discussion at all. We're not gonna spoil any of the plot points of the movie. We're just our feelings and reactions to it. But yeah, so the Joker's always been a part of like my mainstay. You know, from Cesar Romero back in the days to Super Friends. You know, anytime he was on a Batman in the Super Friends or Scooby Doo, meet Batman and Robin, all of that fun stuff. And then in 1989, Jack Nicholson was the Joker, and it blew my head off. And I was always just a fan. And then of course, the animated series came out, Mark Hamill. And that was the end of that. Every time I read the Joker, it's Mark Hamill who I hear. So every iteration of the Joker since that point, hell, even counting that the Batman Joker, where he was like a Rastafarian acrobat.
Honestly, I really liked that show and that Joker. But continue.
That show and Joker had to grow on me, but I don't hate it the way I used to. Even that, all iterations of the Joker, I've really enjoyed because there's always been something there that is like, hey, it's the Joker. But this one, man, I mean, even Jared Leto, make no mistakes about it. People, you can shit on Suicide Squad. I loved the Jared Leto Joker. I did. But this one, this was completely different. So out of left field, so grounded in reality and real. It's just, you know what? I would say the first 25 minutes of this movie, all I kept thinking about was the Michael Douglas movie Falling Down. I mean, have you ever seen Falling Down?
I don't believe I have.
Okay, Falling Down is basically the same premise. What happens to a man who has a very bad day? And that's what happened in Falling Down. Michael Douglas just had an extremely bad day, and it kept getting progressively worse. And you know, he snapped. That really necessarily wasn't the case here. Yes. The analogy I've been using, which I think the biggest influence on this movie is probably Taxi Driver. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, absolutely. And you know what's funny? I think that's what the director was going for, even going so far as having Robert De Niro in the movie. I've never seen Taxi Driver, so I need to rectify that.
It's on Netflix.
It is. Okay, so last time you said something was on Netflix, I had to sit there and watch an entire... I don't get back into that argument. Oh, man. Still love you for that. I need to check Taxi Driver out. Yeah, it totally... Let me... All right, off the bat, I loved the setting. I loved the setting. I loved it being set in an early 80s style Gotham City, which was so freaking New York. I mean... There are parts of that movie I'm like, oh, I know that spot. Oh, I know that spot. Oh my God. And then just like seeing things just reminded me of growing up in Brooklyn in the 80s and just how they nailed the aesthetic of the streets, everything. That it was gorgeous. So I love that. So I was, you know, name aside, all that stuff aside, like I was hooked just from seeing things like growing up and the things that just hit me. As a kid growing up, remember seeing it and saying, this is cool. But, yeah, like, Arthur's descent into madness, if you can even say that's what it was, there are some really traumatizing things that happen to his character along the way because he seems like he's a good guy at heart with certain problems. And, seeing everything that went down and happened to him and how it all goes down and, you know, the connection and just like bringing characters within the Batman universe into the movie, into the lore, and doing it in a way where they matter but don't really matter. You know what I mean? I thought it was fantastic. I loved it because, again, at the end, this is the Joker. This isn't about Batman. This isn't about, you know, any other Rob nothing. It's the Joker, and you know, basically his beginning. And this is by far my favorite origin story for the Joker, by far. And I love the Red Hood thing. I love him falling into a vat of chemicals at the Ace chemical factory. I love all of that, But this, man, this hit in a different way. This hit in a different way. I rambled enough, man. How you feel when you saw the movie?
Truly, it was a very disturbing movie. Like, there was some parts that made me really, like, the whole movie makes you uncomfortable from the very get-go and doesn't stop. But, like, there was some parts that just really didn't sit well with me. And that's hard to do. And it's hard to, like you, it's really hard to put into words how I feel about this movie. It's a movie that, like, I saw it Thursday night, and it's really just sat with me ever since then. Like, something I haven't really been able to stop thinking about, and in a good way. Like it's a very thought-provoking movie. It really challenges, I think, society's involvement in the creation of a villain. They're really, like, I know people who say that this is not, like, this is a movie that has no political bias whatsoever, and I think it doesn't beat you over the head with politics, but it does have political statements in it, and statements about our society and the world and the treatment of other people, of, like, our fellow man. And, like, all of those are very, like, poignant and really well done. One thing that I really, really enjoyed the movie was, it wasn't, like, just overblown with references, like a lot of these other comic book movies are. Like, we're pretty big DC fans. We would have picked up on a lot of them, but there really wasn't any. Like, no cops suspiciously named Gordon or Montoya or
right.
Anything like that. There's
the two cops, the two cops that are in it. One of them, I think, is in Batman Year One. The name. So okay. I forgot what the name off the bat, but I was like, I recognize that, but my bad.
I mean, yeah, like, I'm sure that there are probably a couple, but, like, they're so deep seated that even I missed them. But they don't beat you over the head with it. Like, it's not like something like Gotham or Arrow or any of those CW shows, or even the Marvel movies. They just really beat you over the head with the references. And this movie isn't about that. It's not about the DC universe as a whole. It's not about even DC. It's about the Joker. And what I really liked was, when the production for the movie was announced, and it was announced that Joaquin Phoenix would be playing a character named Arthur Fleck instead of, like, a lot of people were pissed, like, oh, the Joker doesn't have a name, he shouldn't have a backstory, all that. But, like, I feel it fits into the Killing Joke theory of this is one of his possible origins.
Yep.
Maybe it had turned out this way. Maybe it happened another way. Maybe none of it happened this way. Maybe this was all just in his mind. And I really, really loved their sort of ambiguous take on it, and how it just fits so perfectly into the Joker mythos.
Absolutely. You nailed upon a whole bunch of things. People arguing about Joker not having a name. Jack Napier, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's just stop that right there. Nobody ever complains about that. You said Joaquin Phoenix. Let me tell you something. I found out yesterday that Joaquin Phoenix is, like, seriously my favorite actor right now. Like, and I don't mean right now because of this performance, because I go back and I think about everything I've seen Joaquin Phoenix in, and I've actually loved that dude and everything I've seen. So by default now, he is my favorite actor right now. His performance, his embattlement with himself, and just seeing the change that Arthur goes through in the battle, I ate it all up. Literally, so you were talking at the beginning, right? Like, right at the beginning of the thing there, that it's an insanely disturbing movie and they're still processing it. Does it say something to my psyche that I sat there and I was literally giggling like a school child a lot during a lot of that movie? Like I wasn't laughing at it because I found anything stupid. I was laughing at it because I was like, wow, they are really nailing all of this. And it made me happy. It made me, I don't know why, but it just made me happy to see this character just taken in such a completely different direction. You never see the Joker, okay, in any form as down and out as you do in this movie. And again, it's not even the Joker. It's not even the Joker yet. It's Arthur Fleck. That's who it is. But to know where this character goes, to know what this character becomes, and seeing it here, it's Shakespeare. It's tragedy, but it's like one of those comedic Shakespeare things. I'm trying to think of names that Shakespeare did comedy and tragedy so well together. That's what I felt. I literally was just sitting there laughing. I'll give you one example, one scene, and it's not a spoiler scene, but when he comes back and goes, "Oh, I forgot to punch out," and then he starts punching the clock. That, like, I cracked up. There were 7 people in my theater, admittedly. It was an 11:30 in the morning show. 7 people in the theater. I was sitting there laughing. Nobody else was. So I covered my face with my shirt, but I was laughing. I was like, I found that funny. That's something the Joker would do. It's a Joker thing, right? Loved it. But then there were things, and I spoke to you this before we started this podcast, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say it. There's a scene in the movie that Arthur Fleck does something. He's preparing. He's mimicking something he's seeing on TV. And it's all to prepare for, something that comes towards the finale of the movie. And as I'm watching him do this, right, dude, I'm not lying when I tell you, I start to tear up. Like, literally, I'm tearing up in there. And I'm not, like, laughing or nothing. I'm tearing up because I'm like, oh, my God. And the whole sequence plays out. And then he sits down on his couch. And he pretends to, like, blow his brains out. You know the scene I'm talking about, correct?
Yeah.
Yo, it was like tears in my eyes watching the whole sequence because, and I'm not lying when I say this, there have been many, many times as a child growing up, into my teenage years, hell, into my 20s, and maybe even my early 30s, where I would do things like that. I would seriously act something, nobody's around. I'd be by myself completely and act out complete sequences and then end it with literally doing just that and seeing how long I can pretend I'm dead for. It was it was scary, dude. I was like, oh my God, did they just like go into my psyche and put this on it? Am I the only one getting to see this on the screen? Is somebody else seeing something different? Because it was so, like, dude, it was so personal to me. Because I literally done it, like that shit. I couldn't believe it. There's another part in the movie where, and it's towards the end, where he starts realizing everything. And things are not the way they play out. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to get into spoilers here. That I was like, holy crap. I've done that too. Not to the extreme that was in the movie. Like, I never, there's an extreme in that movie that scared me to death while watching it because I was like, what's going to happen next? And please don't, you know what I mean? Like, I was really rooting for Arthur in this moment. And not Joker. I was rooting for Arthur and not Joker. But I have also done things like that. I was speaking to my boy this morning and I said, I used to do things where I would put myself in several different scenarios and play out each one just to be prepared for anything that may come my way that might have to deal with such said scenario. I would just do it, just to prepare. And if it never happened, as long as I'm prepared. Kind of like Batman would do. And I was sitting there like, oh my God, this is all in this movie. There's never been a movie like that has literally felt like it just went right into my damn soul and was like, we know what you're thinking. It fucked me up, bro. It fucked me up.
I had a couple of those kind of moments too in the movie, where just they're like just deeply personal on a lot of levels, and yeah, it's kind of a lot to process. And you mentioned that in those moments you were rooting for Arthur and not the Joker, and I think that's like a big thing in this movie because it doesn't glorify anything he does in any way, and you don't necessarily sympathize with him, but like you or you're not necessarily rooting for him, but you can kind of sympathize. You sympathize with what he's going through, but it doesn't glorify his reactions to things around him. And I think there's a very distinct point in the movie that Arthur's gone and he's the Joker. And my personal takeaway from viewing it was earlier in the movie than we're led to believe.
Oh, after this podcast, I want to talk to you about that. I want to know where it was because I don't want to spoil nothing. unless you can do it without spoiling it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I watched it and there's a part where I was like, okay, he's the Joker now.
Okay.
He's
was it punching the clock out? Was it punch out time?
No, it was not punch out time. But then there's a part where towards the finale of the movie, the Joker is debuted in his full glory, and it's like them saying, all right, here is the fully formed Joker. But the way I see it is the Joker was there and took over far earlier in the movie than it showed.
Gotcha.
But that's just my take. It's just my very ambiguous, spoilery take. But that's just a great fucking movie.
It really
can we talk about a lot of actors get a lot of praise and stuff for their physical transformations, either putting on a lot of muscle or like losing a lot of weight. But, I'm not seeing a lot of talk about Joaquin Phoenix's like physical transformation.
Unbelievable.
Like, dude lost like 55 pounds. Like, did you see how skinny he was? He was nothing.
There is a moment in that movie where he's sitting down, he's got his shirt off, and he reaches back, and I mean his rib cage it's like 3D almost. His rib cage is front and center, and then like his stomach just sinks in. It's like you can see the bottom of his spinal cord. It is absolutely insane. But not only that, because that's freaky, but again, that's like a perfect character trait of the Joker, just being always slinky and lanky. But his movements, and I'm not talking about when he becomes Joker, I'm just talking about Arthur Fleck's movements, the way he runs, it's goofy. Like, there's so many things that I'm like, oh my God. And again, I bring it back, and it may sound stupid, but I'm telling you, it's really weird. I go back and you look at the Cesar Romero, or again, the Scooby-Doo meets Batman and Robin, or the Super Friends, and just, it seems like that is that type of Joker, the way he would run, for instance. You know what I mean? Like a clown, like a person who don't know really how to run. There's so many things. The way he smokes cigarettes is another, just these traits that I'm sitting there and I'm like, check. And yeah, I've never seen the Joker ever smoke a cigarette. Well, no, that's the Penguin. I've never seen the Joker smoke a cigarette. You know what I mean? And maybe throwaway scenes in a comic book somewhere. But, I mean, this was real. Like, everything about this movie was real. This was viscerally a very real, in-your-face movie. There's no superheroes. There's no men of agility beyond that of normal men. Nothing. This is real. They do mention those super rats, which I thought was hysterical. That was great. I was like, super rats leads to super cats. I love that. But outside of all that stuff, No mention of any other established DC Universe cities. No Metropolis. No nothing. Hell, they didn't even really use Gotham enough. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they used Gotham like 3-4 times maybe.
Exactly. So, yeah, go ahead.
It felt like it was taking place in New York or Chicago or something like that. Like if this were any other movie, yes, it would be New York or Chicago. But since it's the Joker, it has to take place in Gotham. But yeah, the kind of the way I've been like putting it is this feels because Joaquin Phoenix is a very distinct Joker. Like he's really very unlike anybody else. He's not channeling Cesar Romero. He's really not channeling. He's vastly different from Heath Ledger's Joker. Very different from Mark Hamill. He's just his own Joker. But it feels like almost the origin to that Joker comic that came out a handful of years ago. Remember those after
Dark Knight came out.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a day in the life of the Joker, like through the eyes of one of his henchmen.
Yep.
It very much feels like that, in my opinion. Just the way Joker is portrayed, like just the randomness in his actions, but also like that comic really showed off the deep psychological trauma that he has. And yeah, this feels like coincides very well within that.
Absolutely. It absolutely does. All right, before we wrap this up, man, I just want to point out something that I thought was absolutely pitch perfect with this movie. And they did this in The Dark Knight when the Joker was on screen. And that is that the music, the score for this movie, especially when
good.
Arthur is on screen, this real scary sound, man. I'm done. I was finished. I said, "Good God Almighty, that's gorgeous." I absolutely loved it. It was scary. It felt like that's exactly what he hears as he walks around. Like this is what's in his head. I freaking loved it. I loved it. And as a self-proclaimed Joker fan, this was it, man. This like I said, it checked every single box I needed to check. And yeah, like I said, I was laughing. I was giggling like a schoolboy, and I, whatever that says about me. What are your final thoughts, man? Like seriously, like where do you put this movie?
It's kind of in a league of its own. It's not gonna fit into any kind of box. It doesn't fit into any kind of superhero mold. It's not a superhero film. It's not like a thriller. It's not an action movie. It's kind of just a character study. It's hard. It's very much its own thing, while being kind of a modern take on Taxi Driver. I think that's probably my biggest complaint is like it's so similar to those kind of movies, but it's not in a bad way. It's not a knock against this movie. It's very original for 2019, but not necessarily original in the scope of the history of cinema. But yeah, nearly a perfect movie. I think like I'm going to see it again tonight. I could walk out saying, yeah, that is a perfect movie.
It's a front runner for number one of 2019 as of right now. We've got a couple months left.
I think it's pretty firmly going to be in my top 3 for sure.
For sure.
It's maybe top 2, but I don't know if it's going to be top 1 because
we have
Art of Self-Defense was my favorite movie of the whole year so far.
The Art of Self-Defense? That's what it was called?
Yeah. Jesse Eisenberg movie. It was a small indie movie that came out over the summer.
I got to check that out. I didn't even hear about that.
Okay, we can talk about that after. But yeah. And your final thoughts?
The very last scene of Joker, not Arthur, of Joker. He does something. while standing on top of a car. He does something that was it. That was it. It solidified everything. And when I tell you, that put a smile on my face, okay? Like you would not believe. I said, this is it. This is the one. It is my favorite comic book movie, even though it doesn't feel like a comic book movie, although there is one particular scene that is ripped right out of The Dark Knight Returns, which I absolutely loved. And it's so small yet so big, you know, and it's not even a spoiler. But he kisses the Dr. Ruth lady on TV, and I was like, that's so freaking awesome. I love that. I loved it. But this seriously is my favorite comic book movie. I love Avengers Infinity War. That is like bombastic, but this is so different from anything like that. It's so much real. It's so gritty. It absolutely is plausible. What I will say this though, I don't think this is going to incite any kind of riots at all. I don't think all the publicity it was getting, negative publicity, a week ago or started a week or two ago, where people were voicing their concerns. Honest to God, this movie is going to be boring to children. It's going to be a boring movie to children. So I came out of that theater thinking, I don't understand why people were like worried about this. It was a solid movie all around. It's a fantastic movie. And yeah, he's not a mass murdering freaking psychopathic clown. He's not. It's not that. It's not that. So throw that out the window.
I almost got to disagree a little bit.
Really?
Kind of disagree. Yeah. It's absolutely not going to incite riots or anything like that. But that kind of sympathetic view of somebody slipping into madness as they disassociate from society even more and more into, you know, leading them to commit some pretty horrific crime. I think that there are people out there that will look at that and go, I feel like that too.
I agree with that.
And that's my concern. I'm not looking, you know, it's not going to be, there's not going to be riots. There's not going to be big mass hysteria because of this movie, but I am worried about, like, or not worried, but, you know, I do have concerns that, you know, somebody will look at this movie as inspiration.
Or the director looked at somebody as inspiration for this movie.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think we should, you know, like, art should be left alone. Like, this should, you know, it's on the people themselves to know right from wrong. It's not on art to know or to dictate what's right and wrong. But, you know, there's other sick people out there in the world that might or could be negatively affected by this movie. And I think that's worth being concerned about, but I don't think it's worth, like, panicking over or really, like, you know, banning the movie, taking it out of theaters, anything like that. I don't think it's going to incite real violence, but, you know, there's always that little thing in the back of my mind.
There's a catalyst.
You know, who's to say?
There's a catalyst in this movie that I would have agreed with everything. The catalyst in this movie is getting the funding cut, which is where Arthur couldn't go and speak to the counselor. In today's day and age, though, it's up to the person, the individual, to go and seek help, or somebody within that individual's circle to send them to get help. So that's the only reason why I disagree, but I totally respect what you're saying, because I do get that. And that's my own, that's why I'm like, I don't see anything coming from it, but I totally do see where and how it can happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, brother, man, other than that, this is it. This is definitely in my top 2 movies also of the year. And I just got to wait to see what the other Joker, Mark Hamill, doesn't Star Wars later this year to make my final decision. Because I'll tell you right now, it ain't Endgame. It ain't Endgame. But that'll do it for this podcast, bro. I appreciate it on the review. Fantastic movie. I can't wait to see it again. I'm probably going to go see it twice more in theaters. I got to take my wife, and when my boy comes back from Germany because he's having fun in Oktoberfest, we're going to go see it again. But yeah, man, fantastic. Bro, thank you for being on this Joker review with me.
Of course, it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because in a couple of months, we are going to finally do we were supposed to be doing a 6-month breakdown of our top favorite movies of the year.
Yeah.
Well, we're just going to wait to the end of the year to do, our top 10. And it's going to be a fun one. So stick around for that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to this Joker review non-spoiler podcast. I'm G1. We out of here. Peace.